Welcome to Faces of Sterling. I'm Terry Ackerman, your host. I'm the town administrator in Sterling. This show, Faces of Sterling, will profile people from the Sterling community who are truly making a difference in our community. Today, we're pleased to have two guests from Habitat for Humanity. Our first guest is Maggie Monroe Castle, the Executive Director of Habitat, and Don Kapman, President of the Board of Habitat Humanity, NCM. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us. We're thrilled to be here.
So Don, you are the president of Habitat for Humanity, NCM. Can you tell us what does NCM stand for?
NCM stands for the 25 North Central Massachusetts communities that this affiliate actually serves.
Okay, North Central Massachusetts
North Central,
affiliate.
yep.
So how do you tie into the International Habitat Organization?
Basically, we use their name and their popularity to actually further the cause of habitat locally.
But you are part of the international organization?
We are part, but we don't, one thing that I'd like to make clear is that we don't get any funding from the international. We actually rely totally on local funding to run our affiliates.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So Maggie, I understand you have several projects going on in Sterling right now. Tell us how you started working in Sterling.
Habitat for Humanity has many different ways to get involved in a local community. Sometimes the people of the community actually come to us and ask if we could build a house on a piece of property. Sometimes we go and find a piece of property to purchase somewhere. In the case of Sterling, we had the opportunity to work with somebody who individually wanted to donate a piece of property to us. And so our project here got started because an individual knew about Habitat, had a piece of property, contacted us. The next thing we knew, we were working on a project in Sterling.
Okay, so let's talk a little more detail about the first project that you have going on.
This project we're working on right now is in Washaken Village. And last summer, a year ago now, we were contacted by this individual, and when he asked if we wanted to take the property, it's one of the houses in Washaken Village, and it was a very deteriorated home from the late 19th century. When he asked us if we wanted to take that home and demolish it and build a new home, we were very excited to do that.
Of course.
We were at a particular point in our process that we were finishing up another house in Lancaster, and we didn't have another project ready to go right at that moment. So it was really a very lucky opportunity for us to take that gift from him. And so we jumped right into it because we had also signed up through Habitat International to have a group called Caravanners come and work with us. They are mostly retired couples, singles who own trailers or RVs, and they go all around the country and work on Habitat for Humanity projects.
Wow.
We had signed up months before for them to come, and we needed to move this project along so that they could have something to work on. So we scurried around quite a lot last August and September, and they came in September, and we got going and got the foundation in on that house and got the framing started.
Incidentally, it rained the whole week. Oh. So they worked outside in the rain the whole week. And I just give them a tremendous amount of credit. They're a great group of dedicated people. As all of our volunteers are, actually.
They are.
Wow.
Yeah.
They had to put up with a lot of things they didn't know were going to happen in our timing and all of that. But while it was a little chaotic to get that started the way we did, it jump-started our fall. And an unusual thing with this house is normally before we start a project in a community, we have selected a family for that project. In this case, because it all happened so fast, we did not have a family selected. So we couldn't continue the project as fast as we would have liked, because in our model, the homeowner has to put in sweat equity and help with the house. So we got going very fast and worked very fast for a few months, and then we had to button it down for the winter. And we had to wait for our family selection process to finally pick a family and have the board approve that family. So we buttoned it up for the winter, and we moved to some of the other projects we have going in Leominster and in Fitchburg.
And I understand you now have a second project going on in Sterling. Tell us about that.
We do have a second project that will probably begin sometime later this fall, or maybe even in the wintertime. We were very excited to start working in Wishaken Village because there are many of the 100, 150-year-old homes that need to have work done on them or need to be demolished and a new home built. And so when we learned that the Homeowners Association was selling some homes, we negotiated with them to buy a second home. And we also negotiated with the Home Builders Association of Central Massachusetts to have them be the predominant builders instead of our volunteers.
Oh,
And
why is that?
well, that's part of a national partnership between the National Home Builders Association and Habitat for Humanity International, encouraging home builders across the country to put as much volunteer labor and as much donated materials into homes so that the local affiliates don't need to put as much cash out to build a home.
Interesting.
So the Home Builders Association in Central Mass had worked in the Worcester area with the Worcester affiliate, and they had never worked with us, but we're part of their region. So they chose us this year to work with, and as soon as we have selected a homeowner for that project, they will commence working on it. So it's a time-sensitive thing. We aren't quite sure. Maybe a month, it may be 2 months, it may be later in the winter that we begin.
And Sterling's geography being so close to Worcester makes it convenient for
Yes.
them to actually come to Sterling rather than having to go to Fitchburg or Leominster, further away from where they're based. So it was really opportune that we had another project going on in the village.
Great.
And it really shows how there's not one kind of volunteer for Habitat. We've
Right.
already talked about just the regular community volunteers and the caravanners from Habitat International and folks like partners with the Home Builders Association. We also have collegiate challenge groups, so we have youth who come from high schools and colleges for spring break, alternative spring break, or during their summer break. So the volunteer, there's no standard volunteer in the Habitat world. There are many different kinds of volunteers, and it's very fun to meet the different people who come to us from far and from near. And some folks who become our regular volunteers and are on our site 2, 3, sometimes 4 days a week, helping out. That's how it gets done. We are a grassroots organization, and it's those folks, wherever they come from, that build up the Habitat houses.
We've also worked and are working with the Center for Technical Education in Leominster, and the kids come out and work on our houses. So it's really a lot of fun. It's really great.
And that's I'm glad you brought that up, because this house, while it's not in Leominster, the Leominster School District gave the students the, I guess, permission. They had to get special permission to work outside of Leominster. And they did the plumbing and the electrical work for the house here
Wow.
in Sterling.
Isn't that great?
That's really great.
Yeah, that's great.
All under their teachers. It's beautiful. The work they did is gorgeous, and it was wonderful to have them working with us.
So we've been talking about a lot of different types of volunteers. And Dawn, you're a Sterling resident. You've been a volunteer as a board member. Tell us about how you got involved in Habitat.
Well, that's a good question. I've been a Sterling resident for 35 years, and for most of those 35 years, my wife and I have supported Habitat International, not having a clue that there was a local affiliate until about 8 years ago. And what happened was a woman who works for me told me about a project that her son and the Cub Scouts were doing for the local Habitat affiliate in Fitchburg. And I said, well, I didn't even know that there was one. So I said, did you think that you could get the then executive director of Habitat to come in and speak to our staff and tell us more about Habitat?
Good idea, yeah.
And so she did. And about a month after she came in, she saw that we were interested and she gave me a call and she asked me if I'd be interested in being on the board of directors. And I said, yep. And it was the best decision I've made. I've had a tremendously happy experience there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I understand there's a lot of benefits to the community of Sterling to having Habitat come in. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say that I was thrilled. Being a resident of Sterling, when we got this project going, these two projects going, I couldn't have been happier because we wanted to come to Sterling for a long time. And there's many ways that a Habitat project can benefit the community. Actually, it's the type of a project where everybody can get involved, the entire community, the civic groups, the churches, individuals, anybody can get involved in our projects. And the interesting thing about that is you don't have to know how to use a hammer. If you don't want to use a hammer, you don't have to.
Really? That's great.
Yes, absolutely. On the project that we were doing in the village, the First Church was very involved in helping us out. St. Richard's was very involved in helping us out. St. Richard's, I told you that it was raining the whole time that they were here. Well, all of these caravanners were staying in a campground and they couldn't stay one extra night, so St. Richard's let them stay in their parking lot. They made them lunches. Oh. So people can get involved that way. They can get involved in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be just hammering nails in the house. And if they don't do any of that, they can give us some money.
Okay.
And I think, for me, one of the really critical ways that Habitat changes a community, all these people that Don has just described getting involved, that changes the fabric of a community when people have an opportunity to work together. I've often said, we build houses with people in need who have an opportunity to purchase them from us. That's great. That's almost like the byproduct of what we do in some ways. What we really do is bring people together over a common, no matter what your religious, cultural background, whatever it is, we provide an opportunity to bring people together over a common concern for their community. And that hammer, even though there are many ways, as Don already said, to volunteer without using a hammer, but the hammer becomes our symbol that this is a community-wide thing and everybody is invited. Mm-hmm. So for me, any community that does not have an opportunity to have an active Habitat project going on in it is lacking that possibility. There are many, many ways in our towns for people to come together, but I think Habitat really is a unique way that covers so many differences that we have, political differences, the religious ones I've talked about. So that's a really powerful message for a community. And I also think by welcoming us into the community, a town is saying, we welcome people of all economic backgrounds. We want for our community to be a diverse community. And I think that's a message that we have gotten from Sterling.
Thank you so much for explaining all those different ways someone can volunteer. I had no clue. I thought you had to know construction, so that's very interesting. So I'd really like you to explain how the people in Sterling who are watching can volunteer to help Habitat.
Well, I'd like to tell everybody from a board point of view, we could always use board members. We have a board of 12 people right now. We have a mandate for 15. We could always use people to join our board. The other thing is we have committees that people don't have to be on the board for. And I'll give you an example that's very specific to Sterling. We have a family selection committee, and right now we're looking for a family for the second project in Sterling. So that's a committee that people can join without having to be on the board. So there are several committees. If you don't want to be a full board member, you can actually join a committee.
Great.
And there are lots more ways to do hands-on work with Habitat. In addition, as Terry has said, to the tradition of people thinking about hammering or sawing, and we do, by the way, train people. Nobody needs to be skilled in construction to come onto our construction site. We help people with whatever they're comfortable learning. But in addition to the construction, we do need folks in our office to help with various projects. We need folks in our restore. Our restore is in Leominster, and we sell new and used construction materials and appliances and furniture. And all of the proceeds from that go to help our mission of building houses in north central Massachusetts.
So you need people to work in the store to volunteer there?
Exactly. And you can be any age, at least 16 and up to 106 if you are interested, because there's a place for everybody with volunteering with Habitat. In our restore, being a cashier or helping customers on the floor, organizing things, doing computer work. So there are many ways to volunteer with Habitat.
Or donating materials to the restore.
Right, yes, donating anything that falls in that category.
Absolutely.
The construction materials or appliances that are in working condition and furniture. So there are many ways to help, particularly as a volunteer, and it's very simple. If you have access to a computer, you can go to our website at ncmhabitat.org. And it's very clear to click on a tab called Volunteer Up and register through that program. If you don't like computers, and there are still people out there who don't, you can call our office and talk to our volunteer manager, Claire. And she will help identify different projects you can do and match you up with something that will bring you into part of the mission of Habitat for Humanity.
Great. And what number should they call?
Folks can call 978-348-2749. Claire's extension is 0. So you can talk to anybody in the office or leave a message if there's nobody answering the phone that day.
Great. Now let's talk about what people should do if they want to apply to be a homeowner.
There are 3 basic requirements for a Habitat home. One is the family needs to have exhibit a need for decent housing. That may mean that they're living too many people in a small apartment. It may mean that the housing that they're currently living in is deteriorating or substandard. Or it may mean that the cost of that housing for the size of their family and the size of their income is really prohibitive and makes it difficult to pay for food and gas and other things that families need to live on. So the first is need. The second is willingness to partner. And and everybody who is selected for Habitat House must do sweat equity, get out and help build their home or somebody else's home, or work in our restore or in our office or on other projects. But everybody has to do a little bit of construction, so nobody can get away from that. So for a single parent household, that's 200 hours of sweat equity, and for a household where there are 2 adults, 2 working adults, it's 350. And the final qualification is ability to pay. One of the common myths of Habitat is that we give away homes. We do not. What we give away is the opportunity to build your own home and the opportunity to get a 0% mortgage. But each family, we carefully scrutinize, much like a bank would, the financial picture of that family, and we determine if that family has the ability to pay a 0% mortgage. For our houses, it depends on the house, but that could be as little as $600 a month to own your own home, maybe as much as $800 or $900 a month. But some of our families are coming from situations where they have been paying $1,000 or $1,100 for an apartment that is not sufficient.
Correct.
So those are the 3 basic qualifications, and we are still encouraging people to apply, which they may do by calling our office. For the second Sterling house, which is a 2-bedroom house, 1 bath, 1 story, fully handicap accessible inside, and if there's a need for accessibility in the family, we will also make it accessible via ramps for the outside.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
My big concern, and I speak to the people now, is if you know somebody who you know is living in inadequate housing, even if you think they might not be able to afford a house, we are here to work with them and to show them that perhaps by working with their credit or looking at their budget, they do have hope of owning a house through Habitat for Humanity. So it does not cost anything to apply. We encourage people to encourage other people to apply, or to apply yourself through Habitat. And even if this house is not the one that's suitable, we will be building other houses across North Central Mass locally and farther away from here. But we really encourage people to apply and to give it a chance, because it may be the opportunity of lifetime that somebody didn't really think they would have.
So Maggie, can you give again the website and the phone number?
Yes, our website is www.ncm, as in North Central Massachusetts, habitat.org, and we can be reached at 978-348-2749. We're happy to talk to anybody about any interest, whether it's interest in volunteering, applying for a home, or how to donate to help us finish up these houses in Sterling.
Thank you very much, Maggie and Don, for coming in today. It was a very informative show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry, for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. And I want to thank the audience for watching. I want to thank the members of SLCT, Chris, Matt, and Jared for helping us out today. And I'm your host, Terry Ackerman. This is Faces of Sterling. We'll see you next time.